The restaurant smelled faintly of roasted coffee and warm pastries. For David, a successful CEO accustomed to reading numbers and contracts, the world outside his glass office felt like a distant memory. Tonight, he was here for a blind date, arranged by a well-meaning friend who insisted he needed a fresh start. David had long stopped believing in fairy tales, love at first sight, or happy endings. His life consisted of board meetings, late-night emails, and fleeting encounters that never lingered. Still, something in his friend's knowing smile persuaded him to agree. He entered the dimly lit corner of the restaurant, scanning the room with practiced neutrality, as if evaluating a boardroom rather than a woman. Little did he know that across the room, seated awkwardly at a table, was a woman whose presence could shake the foundations of his meticulously constructed life. Emily had spent years rebuilding herself after heartbreaks that left her feeling invisible and unworthy. Strong, resilient, fiercely independent, she had learned life's lessons the hard way. Tonight, she came not for romance, but because her best friend urged her to try having fun. Yet an unexplainable flutter of anticipation stirred in her stomach, as if this night might change everything. Before the date began, fate seemed to focus sharply on them. David sat down, expecting a stranger with polite smiles and careful conversation. Emily looked up and froze. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stop. Recognition lingered beneath the surface, memories of laughter, shared dreams, and whispered promises neither expected to resurface. He didn't recognize her immediately. Years had changed them both. Emily's hair was longer, her face softer yet radiating strength, her eyes carrying the warmth and wisdom only time and hardship could instill. David's sharp, calculating gaze scanned her with curiosity. Something familiar tugged at him, a ghost from a past life buried beneath ambition and cynicism. If you believe in kindness, second chances, or the magic of unexpected reunions, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It means the world. Emily forced a smile, masking the swell of emotion rising within her. She had known David once, before life's cruel twists separated them. Back then, he had been a young man with dreams and stubborn idealism. She had been a young woman with hope and laughter, convinced the world could be kind if one dared to trust it. Their paths had diverged sharply. David immersed himself in business, Emily faced heartbreak after heartbreak. She never imagined she would see him again in this familiar yet strange setting, where the world slowed just enough for fate to intervene. Conversation began cautiously, polite questions exchanged over steaming cups of tea and the soft clinking of silverware. Yet with every word, every subtle gesture, the invisible thread of the past tugged tighter around them. David found himself captivated by her voice, her quiet confidence, and the faint tremor hinting at vulnerability beneath strength. Something in her stirred memories long suppressed, laughter shared on rainy afternoons, late-night talks about dreams that once felt vital. He dismissed it as nostalgia, a trick of familiarity in a sea of strangers. Emily could not ignore the past. Each glance at David sent ripples through her heart. She remembered his kindness, gentle humor, and the way he had once made her feel seen in a world that often overlooked her. She wrestled with a mix of emotions, anger, longing, hope, and profound sadness for what was lost. Yet she remained poised, careful not to let her heart betray itself too soon. She wanted to see if the man before her was truly David or just a stranger who wore his face. The restaurant buzzed quietly around them, strangers drifting in a soft, indistinct rhythm, unaware of the storm of feelings in that secluded corner. Emily lifted her glass, her fingers grazing the table, and locked eyes with David once more. Time seemed to compress, that single moment electric with recognition, sudden and undeniable. David halted, frozen in place. He could see it, spark, memory, the woman he had once loved and lost, standing before him after all these years. His breath hitched as the walls around his heart, long and carefully built, began to crumble. Memories surged forward, her laugh at his awful jokes, her quiet resolve when the world doubted her, their endless walks under city lights where fragile dreams were whispered. How had fate allowed these two lost ships to collide again in the chaotic sea of life? Words failed him. Only the raw, unspoken truth in her eyes mattered. He reached instinctively, brushing her hand. Emily flinched, then held her ground. That touch spoke louder than any words could. The universe had orchestrated this reunion with exacting precision, and neither could ignore the swell of emotion rising within them. Years of separation, heartbreak, and struggle felt like shadows, clearing the way for this singular moment. Their conversation deepened, moving past small talk. They shared triumphs, failures, and heartbreaks that had shaped them. Emily recounted the years of rebuilding, learning to trust herself, and discovering strength she never imagined. David revealed the loneliness behind his success, the nights spent questioning if ambition had cost him too much. And as they spoke, the bond they had once shared rewove itself, stronger, more resilient. Outside, life moved on. Inside that quiet corner, time seemed suspended. David realized he had been searching for something intangible, deeper than wealth or status, and now he had found it, looking across the table at the woman he had loved, lost, and secretly hoped to find again. Emily felt the same, sensing that fate had disguised this second chance as coincidence. The night lingered with laughter, quiet confessions, and the comforting stillness of understanding. When they finally rose, the connection between them was undeniable, a tapestry stitched from past and present. City lights reflected in their eyes, illuminating a future neither had foreseen but both longed to explore. Stepping into the crisp night, shoulders brushing, hearts in sync, they understood that this night had changed everything. At the doorstep, neither wanted to let go. David finally spoke the words that had been imprisoned in his heart. Seeing her again reminded him that love, patience, and second chances were not fantasies, they were real, tangible, and worth fighting for. Emily's eyes glistened as she whispered her gratitude for a night that revived hope. Hand in hand, they walked into the night. Life had granted them a gift that neither ambition nor heartbreak could steal. In the city's quiet hum, their hearts beat a rhythm louder than words, a language of second chances, rediscovered love, and hope reborn.